All right. Hello, everybody, and thanks for coming to another construction technology discussion. I'm really excited for today because we have a fantastic group of panelists talking about, under the hood, AI for AEC, what are the technical trends and real world applications, and just having a good discussion about it. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to my panel to introduce themselves very briefly, and then we'll dive right into our topics. So going around my screen at least, let's first start out with Dikshita.
Sure. Hi, folks. My name is Dikshita. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of CivCheck, which is now a Clarity company. We work with major cities across North America to reduce their construction permitting times through a AI plan review software that basically helps applicants produce like higher quality permit applications and then also helps cities review their permit applications faster.
Fantastic. Let's go next to Rishi.
Hi everyone, my name is Rishi Srivastava. I am co-founder and CEO of Being Human. We are a construction-focused accounts payable and labor automation solution. The main things we do is AI-assisted invoice intake, delivery ticket, POs, statement reconciliation, various accounts payable and adjacent activities in construction companies. We are automating that all across US.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rishi. And then let's go next to Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Janczak from AEC 5. I'm the president. We're a device agnostic fleet management software focused in on operational efficiencies, productivity, access to data. Our belief is that data is the new currency.
Yes. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Let's go to Peter next.
Hi, my name's Peter Lisinski. I'm the co-founder of Command Post. I'm a contractor gone techie, so to speak. 25 years ago, I had a dispute at my construction company with where we couldn't collect money on a job, and it led me to invent the first mobile solution for construction, doing daily reports, and we've been doing daily report software for the last 25 years.
Amazing. All righty. And then last but not least, Jihao.
Hi, my name's Chihao. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Genia. We use AI to help structural engineers design their drawings faster. So we take architectural drawings as input, and we spit out the entire structural package, including the structural drawing and the calculation reports. Yeah, that's pretty much about us.
Fantastic. So one housekeeping note for our audience, as we're going through the discussion, there's going to be a lot of really interesting topics. Please do use the chat box on LinkedIn or whatever platform you're on to ask questions, to engage and share your thoughts. Let us know what you think about these topics too as we go through it, because we want to hear from you and engage with you as well. So with that said, let's dive in first and open up the discussion to talking about value of AI, right? So I get this question all the time, like, what can AI do for me? Where's the ROI for construction professionals? And let's see who wants to jump in first here.
I'll start this.
Go ahead, Peter.
AI is a tool, and I think we need to know it's a tool and it's not taking charge here. It's another tool like a lot of other tools. And I make the analogy to a drill. When people buy a drill for an electrician, so to speak, they'll pay quite a bit of money for the drill. They could have bought a cheaper one, but they pay a lot because it's not the drill they want, it's the hole so that they can pull wire. And if your drill breaks or doesn't work properly, you can't pull wire, you can't work, your crew's idle. So AI is essentially a tool. It's very good at doing things, but it cannot be left to itself. You can go 5 steps forward and 4 back or 7 back in a way if we let the tool start running the show.
Okay. Any other comments on that? So value, like where can teams practically get and realize ROI from the application of the tools?
So one point about AI and within last 1 year has been its agentic capabilities, the plan, act and observe. Similar to how humans operate in a lot of domains, it's very good now, especially software and math. And other domains, it's becoming more and more good.
Yeah.
So I was looking
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
better word. Yeah. So I think we have to understand the evolution and the benchmarks where this thing is now very good, and uh,
Mhm.
and with that in mind, like Peter said, it's still a tool, but it's the evolution has come to a point where it's very very good now.
Yeah, I might maybe elaborate on that, which is I think that there are maybe like three broad buckets that we can think about for how we can use AI. So, and anyone, please feel free to push back on me here, but I would say like you can create stuff, you can use it to understand stuff, and then you can use it to actually like execute on stuff. So creating things would be like writing an email. It would be like it's generating something new from a prompt. You're saying, hey, help me ideate, like that sort of thing. So you're actually creating content. Typically the way to use this well is you give it some outline of what you're looking for, and then it will elaborate on that content, and it will kind of deduce additionally like kind of information to help fill in the gaps. The second one, which is like actually understanding, is when you have a lot of data and you don't know what to do with it. You want to ask questions of it. It just helps you kind of make sense of existing data. So we have a lot of documents in construction. Asking questions, referencing across, right? That would be like an understanding use case. And then an execution use case, which is kind of what Rishi is talking about, where the AI is actually like taking steps in a workflow. You need it to do a task. And so you say, hey, I need you to do this task. And in order to do this task, it's going to perform better if you give it instructions on how you want it to do the task, but it's also capable of coming up with its own instructions and its own plan. So there's kind of a spectrum there.
Just want to quickly extend on that a little bit further because I think one major trend that we see with this round of AI development is because AI has been around for like 2, 3 decades already. So, but what's new this time is that AI is finally being able to deliver the outcome. So, so I guess if we sort of view the AI value from that angle, where like so the way I see about it is, we certainly have labor shortage is such a well-documented problem in our industry, right? So, where are the labor gaps, and where can AI sort of deliver value and deliver outcome to fulfill that labor gap? So, in that way, AI is not really replacing human out of the loop, but rather being a multiplier for efficiency.
So I want to get into another level of this. So if you all have established quite well, what it looks like or what it sounds like. But what it like in a practical, I need more coffee today. What in a practical application or use case does it look like? So if construction professional goes out to the job site, maybe they're a PM in the trailer, somebody, or it could be somebody in the field, and they have some sort of AI solution, who knows what it is. Like what are the actual use cases where the human is interacting with the technology and they get that value? So what does that look like? And this panel is intentional, right? So each of you come from different parts and different backgrounds of, enhancing processes in construction. So I'm really curious to hear like to that level of specificity because the feedback I get a lot in my role is, I don't really know exactly what I can do. So there's kind of this hesitancy to get in and dive in and use it.
I mean, I can talk about go
Yeah.
ahead, sorry.
Let's do Dikshita and then Peter.
Okay. So as you folks know, I do a lot of stuff with plan review, right? So making sure that we can actually get permits. And so as an example of this, right, I kind of laid out 3 broad buckets. You can imagine that there are, a bunch of regulations, and we don't always know what regulations apply to our project, and we don't always understand the regulations, and we don't always know like what actually is going to come up in plan review. And so the code books are yay thick. There's like, several of them. So a great use case for AI is actually trying to understand like, hey, what regulations apply to my project? Why does it apply to my project, right? You can always like kind of upload your plans and get a good first pass. But something that I'll emphasize here is anytime you're trying to use AI to help kind of understand existing information, you always need to double check. So it's a great tool to Peter's point, but that's like one specific use case in terms of understanding just the regulations and what applies.
Thanks
You
for
can
that.
also use it. Yeah, you can also use it to kind of do a first pass of compliance, right? But again,
Totally.
you need to kind of double check.
Yeah, I've never sat and read through one of those like regulation books. Like yeah,
Yeah,
trying to, like,
and
nobody has
now you
really.
can exactly, yeah, now you can just
Yeah.
like kind of get it to summarize, which is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Peter, you were jumping in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, my son is a civil engineer and he uses it. One of the things he loves about it is looking for discrepancies between the specs and the drawings and different things. And it's really been effective for him to identify where one, before the work's put in place, that there's conflicting specifications. And he's found that super helpful. And to, we all know how expensive rework is, and it sucks up not only money but time on the project, and this is a great way to avoid that. And it's something that the data is there, and to find these discrepancies is super helpful.
What
One of
else?
the one of
Oh yeah,
the
Jeff.
one of the one, I would say one of the areas that we focus in on with our customers is the planning and the budgeting aspect of things. So, in the past, it's been a bunch of spreadsheets. You try to merge them together, it never works. The file's too big. You can't email it, right? So nowadays, with our system with AI, we're moving to a place where you take your live data, you take your auction data from different sources, you merge that together, you allow it to produce you results, which is, these are the machines we should send to auctions. These machines we should we should sell. These are the ones we should keep, and it's making these decisions without hours and hours of labor. So we're kind of cutting down on the noise in the productivity, or lack of productivity, if you will.
Yeah, it's taking away that busy work piece and shrinking those timelines to insight. Yeah, it's the theme
So,
that I.
in the accounting world, one area where it has gotten really good is in reconciliation. So you're looking at, let's say, what data is in your bank versus what's there in your accounting system. So that part of the job, it used to take days towards the end of the month for accountants to do, but now it can be done in a couple of hours. You know, the
Right.
yeah.
Also, I just want to sort of push this in a slightly different direction because I think like one angle to view the where AI is actually creating value is to sort of place AI in the existing workflow. But I think from our experience, sometimes you have to sort of step out of the box and I won't sugarcoat it, but you essentially create a new workflow so that you can reap the value of AI. So I'll just give you one example. So we
Mhm.
work very closely with structural engineers, right? So they typically the typical workflow is you have junior engineers on our team, and they will do the manual calculations, repeated layouts, etc. And then essentially a senior engineer will review their work. Now you can basically have AI to sort of replace the junior engineers. Everybody is now becoming quote unquote the senior engineer, and they have to sort of now review what AI has been generated, and then take a grain of salt on the AI suggested layouts and plans. That's been a completely different workflow because if a human engineer hand over a draft that they come up with, you can trust their work, but now it's generated by AI, so you have to sort of take a grain of salt on top of that. So if you have done that successfully, then the delivery time can be cut from, I don't know, 2-3 weeks down to 2 days. But it's definitely a new process for structural engineers to be able to fully reap the value out of it. So
Yeah,
just
and
want to add my 2 cents.
that's a really good thing to add there, Chiha. I wish we had so much more time. Like, yeah, there's a whole conversation around process enhance, so like taking what you currently have, making it better, and process add, right? So if you're
Hmm.
adding something in theory, it's going to add more steps, or that's how you tend to think about it, but it can also, help make something go smoother if the technology is really innovative, right? So there's a lot to unpack there, but I do want to make sure we get on to a few more topics.
Sure.
And I also see in the chat that we have Nate sharing a thought here. A good way to summarize what we're all talking about is the conversion of systems of record. The systems of action in AI is the key. So thanks for sharing that, Nate. Really appreciate that comment. Yeah, so much to talk about, but we do have some more topics, so I'll keep us moving because I think this next one is really important to talk about, which is when we're talking about AI, we talk about data, right? Data is kind of the fuel of all of these systems, and there's inputs and outputs, and with the outputs, we have to make sure that it's actually good, that we trust it, that it's legitimate. And there's a whole discussion around this. So how can professionals help prepare for this reality where we have to discern what is trustworthy with our AI outputs? And I'll turn this over to Peter to kick us off here on this one.
Well, I'm going to start with, there's an old saying I liked, you got to go slow to go fast. And you have to take the time and be patient and not try to do too much, because it is new, it's different, and it's a little tricky. And we're kind of lazy over, just in general, people. And you have to be really aware and careful about what you're doing. And you have to learn some things, because, it's, you just have to go little by little. Don't try to do too much, and then see, have a success, and then bring in the next workflow, bring in the next area. So that's
And yeah, I'm thinking too, when we were preparing for this, Peter, you had mentioned your anti-AI campaign. Could you tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about that, theory or mindset with
sure.
that?
Well, this comes from the place of, where we sit as the daily reports, and daily reports are the go-to record for resolving disputes on construction projects. And I had it as a contractor for 10 years or 18 years now, actually. And as making software now for that purpose, and seeing customers resolve issues without litigating, and then if they litigate, they win virtually every time because they have great documentation. So the issue is that today you can't believe anything you see, or the videos. We've all seen, this, Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt fighting on top of a roof, and it was all fake. And so when you go to court, one of the things I learned is that there's a certain amount of time allotted for a court case, and the defendants typically like to burn the court time. And they do that by raising reasonable doubt about the things, anything they can. And you can, it's a point now where you literally cannot, people will dispute every video and photo and everything in the data. So the anti-AI aspect is to make sure that with our app, we have something called verified capture. So people use our app, they take a photo in our app, they record audio in our app or video. We certify that's not anti-AI. We know who it was taken by, when it was taken, where they were, and we are custodians of those files. Customers can view them and download them, but we in court can verify that that's not AI. AI comes in post-production, so to speak, where it can be used to improve the content of reports, but the actual capturing of the data as the events are occurring, which is critical for great documentation and irrefutable documentation. That's our anti-AI aspect, that you've got to be careful that you can say that. And look how good it's going to be in 10 years from now, when a lot of the litigation on today's projects is going on.
I think of it similar to like a CAPTCHA, like verify you're a human. Now it's gone to the next level of that in a way. I do want to share some of the comments we're getting. This is good discussion in our chat. So thank you all for participating here. This is amazing. So Pravin is mentioning there's definitely a trust curve on AI. We can't expect engineers to trust AI from the beginning. They have to see AI produce. For example, people now place a family in Revit. They save the model. They save it and trust that the family's there. There might be a little bit of a cutoff to there. And then Nate, again, is sharing here, AI subsidizes the learning curve. It doesn't eliminate the need to learn the information. Yeah, that's a really good insight. Thank you for sharing that. So if the data is inaccurate in your learning the wrong information, then it's garbage in, garbage out. So all good contexts and key points there.
Actually, Aren,
yeah, go ahead, Rishi.
one thing about AI-produced results is there are occasions where you can actually validate AI's work, but there are occasions where humans can't even validate the AI's work. I feel like those kind of situations where it's very hard to validate AI's work requires more trust, and we have to be willing to, try our best and push it hard enough so you can some way figure out if AI is doing it right or not.
Is there a specific use case you're thinking of?
So I was listening to an OpenAI guide today, and there's the capabilities that we are able to generate now is like one with AI. Actually, there's nothing precise I have there, but I definitely can see arenas where the results that AI is producing, it's hard to validate.
Yeah, I
I
think.
think,
Go ahead,
Oh, yeah. Go
Diksha.
ahead, Dikshita. Yeah.
yeah, I was actually just to chime in here. I think that maybe the point that Rishi, I think you're making, which is really really good, is it's the job of like vendors, right? Like people who are building AI, and this is also something when you're kind of evaluating vendors who are AI tooling, to make sure that the tooling makes it apparent where AI is being used. And this kind of gets to Peter's point as well, right? Like where is AI being used? Where is AI not being used? And when AI is being used, how is the tool anchoring what the AI did to like a ground truth? So I'll give you an example, right? So suppose that there is a platform that basically catches discrepancies. It is very easy for a platform to basically give you a list that says, hey, on this page and this page, it says A, and then on this page, this other page, it says B, right? But here's the thing, is if that tool doesn't let you easily click on A and view the page and highlight the thing on the page, right? Then it's going to be really difficult for you to verify. But there are a lot of tools that I'm actually seeing out in the market that don't do a very good job of this. And that's why I think something like kind of what Peter's saying, right, where there's a very clear, or rather responsible AI vendors will make it extremely clear, like what is AI, what is not AI. And when things are AI, they'll actually like help you anchor the AI results to something on a ground truth document. And when I say ground truth document, I mean like an actual like raw thing that you uploaded that you can verify. And I know that's something that we do a lot at CivCheck, right? We'll show you on the construction plan where the information is being pulled from.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like a key feature to look for.
Aaron, I
Just want to.
Let's
Oh,
do
sorry.
Jihao and then Peter.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to quickly build on what Dikshita was saying. There are three principles that we're currently using internally for sort of to sort of govern around the earning trust piece of AI. One is we definitely need to use AI whenever there's done that's deterministic for any job or any tasks in the design workflow that's deterministic and should be observable, then that's where you shouldn't use AI. The second piece is you want to be transparent about where you use AI and how that AI is reasoning. People want to see that reasoning process in the background to help them process it. And the third piece is for AI to be trustworthy, it has to be you have to give people the sense of control. We're in the pre-construction process where we see a lot of engineers tend to work the best when they collaborate with AI. So how that, I wouldn't say we completely nailed it, but I think in the next era of AI, we're going to see more and more AI and human collaboration. So that motive, like user interaction, user experience is where we need to push a boundary from a vendor standpoint. But one last thing I want to quickly add, which is, sure, it's like definitely the vendor's responsibility to prove and to ground it, for the ground truth. But I think this validation effort, I just want to sort of up level that to maybe a legislation standpoint. So I think in the building codes we have canonical examples where it's well recognized by the industry. I was just hoping we could have some sort of ground truth that's universally recognized by everyone in the industry, so that it will actually make that validation job a lot easier. Because what we see is that engineers they want to run their archive projects each individually. That's a bit of a waste of time, I feel like. So there could be ways that we can make that validation a lot more efficient.
Yeah, the ever so elusive single source of truth that we're all searching for. So before we go to you, Peter, just want to share again, the conversation is great here. So Provin's mentioning agree with Dikshita completely. Vendors should ensure transparency. As a vendor, you can also show transparently the decisions that AI made as the software is running. Christopher is also sharing here. I think this is relating to a few things. You could always ask AI to explain its work and give you resources or examples so you can learn and do the research itself and see if it makes sense. So yeah, I know I've done that a few times, right? When I'm researching something a little bit deeper and want to make sure that I know my stuff better than the AI does, right? And then let's go back to Peter because I know you had a thought there.
Well, I was just going to add on Rishi's thought and Dikshita's regarding verifying the output of AI. And when it comes to documenting progress and problems on construction projects, You have to remember, you can't put AI on the stand. You can't put ChatGPT on the stand in a courtroom and have it explain to the court what's going on, because no one will believe it. You need people that were there, that saw it, that can compel a judge or a jury to believe, to believe them. And so that's along with the anti-AI thing. So it's very important to make sure that everything starts with something analog, if you will, or anti-AI.
Actually, one thing I was gonna say, scientific discovery where you're just hypothesizing about something, it's very hard to validate. That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about like stuff that's like you can reference checking what you updated. So there is one field where AI is making a lot of impact right now. You're going through and doing hypothesis and then testing. Now, as humans, how do we validate these hypotheses? Because we didn't even run any experiments on them yet, right? So that gets very tricky with AI right now.
Okay.
One of the things that we do at our company, and I think people will start do, is we use AI for lots of our internal processes, and we have lots of guidelines. I mean, 80 pages of guidelines. So when it does go off a little bit, we update the guidelines, and so it allows AI to kind of stick with it. It doesn't mean it doesn't go off, right? There always has to be this human validation. That's the last step, is like we call peer review. And so I think over time that will continue to evolve, and people sort of understand the guidelines, right? It's like running a business, right? You have to have guidelines within the business.
So Jeff, I want to build on that, maybe jumping a little bit around here too. So it sounds like you guys have some pretty good internal guidelines going on for AI usage, which is not all that prevalent, at least from what I've seen in the industry. It seems like there's a lot of wild westing out there in the land of AI. Could you share a little bit more, like what is the AEC industry missing at large when it comes to evaluation, implementation, just good use and practice with AI and technology solutions?
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of take it back to our first discussion around ROI. Like when I think about AI, and when we decided to bring AI in, we decided, okay, this is the technology we should take advantage of, right? This will move us faster, maybe with more quality. But what is the expectation? So we needed to set some proper expectations and then guidelines on those things. And I think if you're going to just go out and figure out AI, my guess is you're probably not going to be as successful, right? But if you do some small experimentation, agile, whatever the term is that people want to use nowadays, experimentation has been good. We've been doing it for just about a year now. And we're to the point where, we've eliminated humans, and our quality and productivity has gone from our estimation around 10%, 10x from what we were. So again, but it's about the experimentation and getting there. Day one was not that. It was a lot of experimentation to get to that place. And I think if you take that approach, which I think Peter said, which is like, no one's looking for us. It's like, no one's looking to go fast. Learn, and then you get to the speed, and you'll see productivity go up. From our view, that's what we've experienced thus far.
Yeah, I like that experimentation emphasis, because so often I see that people are just so hesitant and nervous and don't have like a safe sandbox environment to actually go and test these things out before jumping into it. So that really keys in on that need. And other thoughts out there, Dikshita?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that like kind of if we're asking the question of like what actually makes AI good, and I think I'll tie this back to Jeff's point, which is, you need to first, right, like going back to like the ROI point as well. The first thing is you need to make sure that you understand what the problem is, right? Because the thing is, you can't improve something. So there's a really common saying, right? You can't improve something you can't measure. So if Jeff, wants to say, hey, I want to increase my productivity, then Jeff has a set of like metrics that he's using for productivity, right? So that's like the first thing. And if you're measuring something, well, then that probably means that there's a problem attached to it. And all we're saying when we're saying, hey, go slow before you go fast, is look at your problem, look at all the possible solutions. And normally your solutions maybe would have not included AI. Now just include some solutions that actually do include AI, right? That's all it means to go from like, is to start using the stuff like slowly, is you just are increasing the scope of solutions or the potential solutions that you would consider in solving a problem that you would normally encounter in your day-to-day business, right? So once you actually have that problem, great, figure out all the different solutions, include a couple of AI solutions in there, maybe experiment with AI to see if your kind of hypothesis that this AI will potentially help me with my problem, like you need to actually test it and see if that's even real. And then once you kind of evaluate, then you can actually make the decision of, hey, should I go with this like AI based solution? Or maybe there's another solution that's better and solves my problem better and is cheaper and doesn't use AI and is deterministic, right? So that's kind of the process, I would say. And if you do decide to go down an AI route, the most effective AIs that I have seen are the ones that constrain the AI a lot. In fact, one of the most like there's a really big tool which I know a lot of folks here won't use, but Claude Code is like lauded as like one of the most amazing platforms. It helps software engineers generate code. Claude Code is like 98% not AI code. It's like deterministic software engineering stuff, and then it's 2% like LLM based, right? And that's because they've constrained it. Like that 98% is just constraining the AI to work within certain limits so that it is extremely useful. And that's why Jeff is saying, I have 80 pages of guidelines of what to do, because the best AIs are the ones where they're so specific, you know exactly what problem you're trying to solve, you know exactly what you want it to do until you give it constraints within which to operate, and then it like does the thing.
Yeah, it's mimicking how we as humans kind of function too, right? Like if we want to be really effective, we put away our distractions, we focus on the task at hand, and then it's much better and smoother for the most part, right? So we are getting a lot of good questions. I want to make sure we have time to address them. So I'm going to switch over into a little bit more of a Q&A mode, just to make sure we get in some of these really good ones that are coming through here. So Pravin is asking, on a long enough time frame, do you guys see companies owning AIPEs? And I'll throw out there that I have seen things like AI site engineer roles come up in construction companies. So this is a thing that's happening. So yeah, asking the group, do you guys see companies owning AIPEs?
I mean,
I guess
I'll just tell you from a software perspective, we only hire AI engineers. So
Okay.
I can't tell you from a construction site, but that's what we do from a technology standpoint.
Yeah, and I think there's two things here. So what I was referencing to is like a person that's like an AI site engineer that has to use AI tools, or in theory, that's what they're doing. But I think there's also a question of like you could have an AI that's a PE. I see you,
Right.
how, yeah. Do you want to take that?
No, because that's exactly where I was going. Because
Yeah.
I like to Peter's point earlier, AI is not being able to take any like legal responsibility till this point yet. So I think just a pure AI software like functioning as a EOR, I don't think we as a society has evolved to that stage yet. But to Jeff's points earlier, it's definitely like for the structural engineers, in at least in the States, we're experiencing a big labor shortage. So it's almost it's almost definite down the road that it's really those Ps that do use AI is going to replace those Ps that don't. So I do see that becoming as a big trend.
Okay.
I think
Any other thoughts on that?
yeah, just one point on this. I think in general, the thing that I think is going to happen, right, is like today, what a PE does, we might replace a large chunk of that with AI. But the PE role itself, like I think this is kind of the actual broader point, which is that the nature of the role is going to change. That's what we're kind of expecting, right? So there's still going to be a role for the human, but in the world of AI where you're trying to constrain it, where you're trying to make it do something, the thing that matters the most is judgment. And so when you're like hiring any professional, right, what you're paying them for and what you're paying the human for is judgment and accountability, right? And so like you're using the AI. So sure, you can like hire an AI PE and have them function like a junior. And I think Jihao made this point earlier, which is like you're basically treating them like a junior, maybe PE, but now your existing actual human PEs are still, now they're exercising judgment and they're acting much more like senior, right? And they're managing and enacting their judgment on the AI outputs.
Yeah,
so it's not a replacement, it's just a change in the role.
Yeah, that's the nuance here, right? So it's a new tool. We need new skills to manage new tools. So it's kind of developing that skill set so that we get a new type of PE. It feels maybe a little bit like the junior level role is going away, but not really. It's shifting to a completely different skill set. Maybe it's going to be called something else in the future. We'll see. All right, so there are some more questions here. Kyle is posing a maybe a thought here. AI as a hypothesis sizer? Question mark. I think that's going back to one of the comments we made earlier that it's creating these hypotheses around what we're testing or evaluating. Um, any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was alluding to that earlier. There are
Yeah.
things that you can easily validate, right? With AI, a lot of us are talking about stuff that we can easily automate, but I put these hypotheses for that AIs are generating it, they're very hard to validate. And this is where it gets very tricky. And a lot of times AI is doing better job than some of the scientists who are not trying to evaluate every single hypothesis. So uh, I'm kind of going back and being a little bit more futuristic here as to like where this tool's heading, as to like there's the people who are using AI to do AI. It's kind of almost recursive loop here in some ways. So yeah, we have to be mindful as we're using it, and we have to know that ultimately we are, like Dixita was saying and others as well, that humans are accountable for what AI does.
Okay. Anything else on that, Jeff? Or
No, nope. I agree. It's an interesting topic. I don't know that we know the answer.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know that we know.
And then let's see. So I'm just keeping an eye on our comment box here. This is great. So Pravin was just emphasizing that it meaning not humans, but meaning that AI is verified as a PE, like AI that checks strongs, for example. So I think we covered both use cases there, but um, yeah, lots of good discussion. So one more question here from Kyle. So the question is back to experimentation. So bridging experimentation to application safely will be more than 10x question mark. So I think the question there is, do we actually get that 10x when we move from experimentation to actual application of the tool? And I'll jump in and say that yeah, I think you can. It depends on, maybe the scale. So maybe you're experimenting on a very small scale, and then you have a good proof of concept when you take it into a production environment, real life environment. You start to realize, the value of that on, you know, 5, 10, whatever X magnitude. But I'll also turn this one over to the group to expand on that too. That's my 2 cents.
I think
I would say
software
on this,
engineering and math, it's definitely 10x. The benchmarks, if you look at it, Erin and others, we are seeing that that part is doing very well. But other sectors of economies, it's probably not at 10x yet. It's probably, in my view, it's like maybe 2x. It can make somebody operating, let's say, on a construction site.
Aaron, is the question basically like, hey, I know something works in an experiment. How do I know that this is going to give me 10x returns when I actually like scale it up and productize? Is that kind of the nature of the question?
Let's assume so. Yeah.
Okay. So then in that case, I would say that like there isn't a guarantee, right? Because a big part of this is execution, I would argue, right? Like just because something works on a smaller scale doesn't mean it's going to work on a larger scale. But that's generally true. That's not just an AI thing, right? That's like a general, anytime you're engineering anything, right? Something that works on a small scale isn't always going to translate to a larger scale because the problems that you encounter at scale are different inherently, right?
True.
And so I think a large part of this is making sure that you have the right partners in place, right? So if it's not just within your firm or if you're working with other firms, just making sure that the firm has experience actually scaling, and if you don't, just making sure that you bring people into the room who do have that experience scaling, because you are going to encounter challenges, right? Doesn't mean that it's impossible. I'm just saying that it's not a guarantee. That makes sense. But with the right guidance and the right partners, like of course you can translate, right, like what is proof of concept to large scale. It's just you might run into some things along the way.
Yeah, especially in this industry where nothing is ever the same twice. So Of course. So we are getting towards the end of our discussion, about 5 minutes or so left. Yes, we do wrap up a little early just to give people time to run on to their next meeting and things. This will be recorded, so for our audience or anybody else who's tuning in, you will be able to come back and see this on the LinkedIn page. And I do want to maybe ask one more question and then wrap up. So this one was submitted before or like ahead of time. So the question is, does data from 20 years of PDFs specifically have value? Is that worth to explore? And that's an interesting question from my perspective, because we are so, or have been so paper-based, which translated to PDF-based in the industry. So yeah, the problem is not is that the data here is not in tables or structures, they point out. So it's not really easily or as easily usable, but this is an interesting one, I think, for some of you who have different experiences. Did you have?
Yeah, let me go first, because for us, we actually
Yeah.
train our own model, so we deal with the data shortage every single day. Like if let's do a simple math, right? So every single year we get 1.5 million residential projects approved. Uh, that's not a big amount of data. So from the software vendor standpoint, any good quality data, no matter how many there are, is always superior to anything artificial. There's been a trend in the tech industry where we do data syndication. We artificially create floor plans and artificially, augment structural drawings on top of that. What it turned out is that those lower quality drawing, like no matter how many of those are, is always going to be worse than lower amount of high quality data. So I would say as long as it's good quality data, the vendors will figure out a way to use them. That's not going to be a problem on the industry, but rather I think the necessity or the existence of those data itself is actually more important to facilitate the AI development, at least from somebody like us who's building our model. So,
Okay. Peter, you had a hand.
Yeah, we, as a contractor, one of the things we always did at the end of the job was try to figure out lessons learned, right? What happened on that job that we can avoid that happening again on the next one. So if I had 20 years of data, I would take the worst jobs, the jobs where I lost money or things didn't work out, and I would focus on that. And I would definitely look at that data and see if you can figure out what it was. Was there something common about that, or the processes, or what it was, and try to develop, automate lessons learned. That would be, there's probably not a lot to learn on it when a project is successful. We learn from our mistakes, right? That's the saying.
Yeah, true. I would maybe push back on it a tiny bit, right? We might want to take outliers and see what caused a really great project to go well, what caused a really bad project to go not so well, right? Because I think, yeah, there's also some stuff I think, you can look at what a team, what like the A team looks like, right? And try to make your team like an A team. Anyway, maybe I'm overly optimistic, but we do have just a couple minutes left. I do want to go around and then very, very briefly share maybe one last thought, and then where people can find or reach out to you if they have some follow-up questions. And then I'll start back with you, Peter.
Okay, yeah. So just to double down on my thoughts here, is that AI is a tool.
Yeah.
And we need to treat it as such. And I can be reached at peter@commandpost.ai. We have a website there as well.
Perfect.
Available to help protect.
Thanks, Peter. Let's go next to Jeff.
Yeah, I would say my final thoughts would be try it, utilize it, experiment with it. It's not, it means it's nothing if you don't try, right? Give it a run, give it a try. I would say the best way to get a hold of me, you can go to incus5.com or just reach out to me in LinkedIn, and I'm usually always available. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Next, Jihao.
Yeah, so my quick thought is, this wave of AI is becoming being capable of delivering outcomes. So we should figure out a way to embrace it. And for anybody interested, especially structural engineers in the audience, if you're interested in reaching out, please check out our website. It's genia.design, genia.design. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Shihao. And then let's do Rishi and then Dikshita to close this out.
One area where I think construction can benefit with AI is disconnected systems. We have so many systems out there, and every contractor I talk to, there are like 20 different systems. And we're working with several companies where we're trying to have AI as a cohesive layer, which is kind of tying all these disconnected systems. So model context protocol is big one there. So I think Xiao was saying this view of AI is different, and we are seeing tangible benefits here with this technology. And anyone who wants to reach out to me, especially in construction accounting and project management, Rishi at beinghuman.com, being with 2 eyes.
Great. And then last but not least, Dikshita.
Yeah, I would say maybe the closing thought is just know what problem you're solving, because that's going to help you figure out everything else. It's going to help you figure out how to use and structure and explore the data that you do have, and it'll actually help guide kind of how you want to use this. If anyone wants to chat with me, so my email is my first name at civcheck.ai, or just reach out to me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only one with my name.
Nice. Cool. All right, well, that takes us to the end of our session here today. It will be again on LinkedIn, so you can come back to it. We'll also be able to see your questions and comments on LinkedIn as well and follow up there. And thank you to our audience for tuning in. The engagement has been so fantastic, so please do reach out and stay tuned for future sessions as well. Thank you to our panelists. Could not have done this without you. I wish we had all the time in the world to spend and just talk about these things all the time, but alas, other things in the world call us. So with that, we'll close out. Thank you all so much and have a good weekend.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to
Thanks.
everybody
Yeah.